Don in London, hello. It's April the 8th, my video all about recovery from addiction to substance and behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour, equally addictive around people, places and things. Trying to be in the right place, with the right people, with the right things. Very trying person, and some call that endeavour, courage, or self-will run riot in the end for me, where I couldn't stop drinking in order to try and get the other things right in my life. So from being a convivial drinker through to being a completely addicted drinker, 24/7, not able to stop and sitting on a park bench having lost a lot. And the more I lost in the last few years, the more I felt free. And I don't know what I felt free from. I think I just felt free of the burden of everything I collected in my life, namely what was in my head, my thinking and my feeling about life in general. It wasn't worth it anymore. So I felt worthless, and I didn't know how to relate to the reality that I was in, and it was dire. So these days, with the help of family, community, professionals, I'm still here, and also with the help of a fellowship, and that fellowship is Alcoholics Anonymous. There are no spokespersons for AA, simply because everybody who goes there is unique and authentic, and they cannot be spoken for on their behalf. That's my understanding of it. We are unique, authentic people. We have our own outlook, and we share experience, strength and hope about our outlook where we choose. And under the cloak of anonymity, within the rooms or meetings of AA, or the groups of AA, you can share what you like, and it stays there. But I share a message of experience, strength and hope about what's working for me, and AA is a big part of the story. And knowing more about the fellowship, or just being in it, and what it offers, is part of what I'm doing here. It's also part of my daily reflections on what's keeping me alive. And the good news about sobriety is we live longer. The bad news about sobriety is that we get other conditions as well. So I have 2 other clinical diseases as a consequence of living longer. So I have gratitude for living longer, and also gratitude that I'm sober, so I can deal with life on life's terms and what comes my way, which is it's a fantastic change from wanting to be dead, but not wanting to be dead because it would upset other people in my family. So I do like to be part of family these days, and to be included, so I know how to love and be loved back. Might sound a bit strange and a bit out there sometimes, but the fellowship of AA is key to my ongoing development as a human concern. I'm not a human resource, I'm a human being, trying to be. So I share about AA freely, but not about the people within. So this is really me and my recovery. I shared readings from the AA Big Book, or from different parts of the literature, to give a flavour of what can help me today. And I always start with the AA preamble, which is on this little card, and inside it also has the main tools of the programme, which is the 12 steps and 12 traditions, and a meditation on the back, which can save me in any moment from thinking I know it all, and I don't. The whole point of living is to be included, take part in, have freedom of choice given the circumstances we are in, and dealing with the consequences of our actions. So what is AA? It's on this preamble, shared at every meeting, and I share it here in the same way, in the same light. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And there are 12 months and 12 steps of the AA program, so all the literature, or much of the literature, which is a daily reading book, this one, is about the 4th step of the 12 steps, April being the 4th step for me. And it reads, making a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves, or simply a self-appraisal of our assets and liabilities, those things which worked for us in the past, and those things which didn't work for us in the past and caused us anger, resentment, and I guess a feeling of failure, or being angry at the world, and not recognising our part in all matters. And part of my connection in that respect was doing what I thought you wanted me to do, to be a part of and to be included. So I had a sense of value or worth or self-esteem. But it got out of hand, and I didn't know how to relate in all aspects of my feelings and emotions. So step 4 is a wake-up call for me. It's not to be feared, and it didn't hurt me. It couldn't hurt me any more than I'd already been hurt by my own behaviour. To look at myself and do a self-appraisal, and then share it with another human being, which is all about step 5. So step 4, which comes in a summary in 12 steps and 12 traditions, as you can see on the screen. I just want to remind people, or just remind myself actually, what it says on the first page of step 4. So it starts, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Creation gave us instincts for a purpose. Without them we wouldn't be complete human beings. If men and women didn't exert themselves to be secure in their persons, made no effort to harvest food or construct shelter, there would be no survival. If they didn't reproduce, the earth wouldn't be populated. If there were no social instinct, if men cared nothing for society of one another, there will be no society. So these desires for the sex relation, for material and emotional security, and for companionship are perfectly necessary and right, and surely God-given. Yet these instincts, so necessary for our existence, often far exceed their proper functions. Powerfully, blindly, many times subtly, they drive us, dominate us, and insist upon ruling our lives. Our desires for sex, material and emotional security, and for an important place in society, often tyrannize us. When thus out of joint, man's natural desires cause him great trouble, practically all the trouble there is. No human being, however good, is exempt from these troubles. Nearly every serious emotional problem can be seen as a case of misdirected instinct. When that happens, our great natural assets, the instincts, have turned into physical and mental liabilities. And I read it again probably a couple of times this month, that starting page, simply so that I remember it's okay to have natural instincts. It's all okay to have all the feelings that we are. And for many years I was only able to express the good side, if you like, the happy side, the joyful side, the side of me that I thought people wanted to see. And I buried deep my fears, my concerns, and my frustrations about life, which were around finance and romance, and looking for, I suppose, acceptance from others by being the person I thought you wanted me to be. So these days, not doing that, not getting fearful, not putting on a brave face, and not living behind a very brittle ego where there was nothing much going on to keep me going as a going concern. And it's scary when we stop drinking, because there's a big gap, and we try to fill it with good things straight away, not realising we're still in a very tormented state. So we may have stopped drinking, but there's an awful lot going on emotionally and spiritually. So emotionally, we're still trying to work out what our feelings are, and the ones which still come up first and foremost are anger, frustration, and being fed up of having the best friend taken away from us. That's our drink or our drug. And then what are we going to do? So that is why the 12 steps are there, to help us straighten out our natural instincts and make us more aware of how we fit with what's going on in the world. So from self-will run riot, where drink took us, to self-obsession, and still trying to stop on willpower, we start to see the world not only through our own eyes, but through the eyes of others too. That's where the experience, strength and hope comes in. So we're actually getting to see how it is for people and see it through their eyes as well. And it gives us perspective on how to live. So when we encounter people in our own lives, or in our own walks of life, we then start to take account of, it's not what I'm going to get from this situation, but what's right about this situation in the first place. Do I need to be here? Do I need to be included? Do I need to actually take account of what other people need too? So it's bringing us back into society, work, family, community, wherever we are able to start again. And because of the consequences of our drinking, sometimes we can't go back to family and community where we were before, or we can. It just depends on how we start to live life sober again. So we don't have to keep on trying to do the same old thing. It didn't work. That was the insanity. Now we're trying to look at life in a different way. So part of that for me is always having the daily reflections handy, this one and the other books, which I should talk about in just a few moments. But for April the 8th it says an inside look. Excuse me. We want to find exactly how, when and where our natural desires have warped us. We wish to look squarely at the unhappiness this has caused others and ourselves. By discovering what our emotional deformities are, we can move toward their correction. And I would actually say, for me, is by discovering what my emotional extremes were, and they could be extremes of good or bad, things at extremes normally cannot be sustained, and then look to correct them. So we all live at extremes from time to time, so don't rule out. But serenity and living life in the moment of now is relating to real life, and some things are extreme, and then we deal with them carefully and hopefully with support. It goes on to say, today I'm no longer a slave to alcohol, yet in so many ways enslavement still threatens myself, my desires, even my dreams, yet without dreams I cannot exist. Without dreams there is nothing to keep me moving forward. I must look inside myself to free myself. I must call upon God's power to face the person I feared the most, the true me, the person God created me to be. Unless I can, or until I do, I will always be running and never truly be free. I ask God daily to show me such a freedom. And when I look at that, when I look at meditation and prayer, which is one of the steps, step 11, prayer and meditation, I'm asking for guidance. So part of the meditation for me is asking for guidance around what is right in this situation. I'm not on my own. I'm living life in society, family, community, wherever I land up, and it's not just about me. So I need perspective, and asking for help from a higher power, for example God, or as I see it, God works through people. Listening for the wisdom of others, I start to make sense of my part in matters, where my freedom of choice is, where my dreams are, and what I can do today, because it's a one-day program. After all, we only live in one place, that's right now. But we do live the consequences, and we do live with what we've done and what is possible. So our dreams probably need to be realistic. What is the first step towards my next dream? Yeah. Or is it just a case of choice? Freedom of choice. Now, looking at as Bill sees it, there are lots of references to the inventory. And there's two types of inventory we are involved in. Step 4, which is the big one, to clear the wreckage of the past, know what we've done and why we're here still. What we've got in terms of natural assets, instincts, and where our liabilities exceeding what is right or what is appropriate for the situation in which we are. Page 89 it talks about review of the day, which is very much about step 10. that inventorying or self-appraisal is a good daily practice, what's worked and what hasn't. And then we can actually note where are the extremes of things that have gone right or wrong. We can have extremes of right and happiness, which is joyful and ecstasy, or we can have abject misery. And somewhere in the middle is balance, the thing I see as I swing by. So review of the day. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Where we were resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid. Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time, or were we thinking of what we could do for others, seeing it through their eyes too, or what we could pack into the stream of life? We must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to ourselves and to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. So, in essence, after the inventory, the main one, step 4, where we share it with another human being to clear the wreckage of the past, but not forget it, look back and don't stare. Then we start that process as part of step 10, doing it daily, so we don't get back into a major pile-up again, a mountain full of stuff to wade through. And the reason why that is, it then starts us in the process of sharing the truth of now with another human being, or God, as you come to understand God in your life. So what works for me is, if something's disturbing me on a daily basis, is to share it with another human being, or many human beings, be they family, community, society, or fellowship. It's like having a network of people we can share our truth with, and if we're sharing the truth of who we are, they can give us honest feedback if they choose to, and we start to see where wisdom resides in other people, where their experience, strength and hope can help us. It doesn't all reside in one person, otherwise they would start to be godlike, wouldn't they? So all men are equal in all ways, from being, I suppose, flawed to perfect, imperfectly perfect right now. Some people with more experience of some things and wisdom of some things than we have. And if we tap into that, that's a higher power for me, and it'll do very nicely, thank you. And in the 24-hour day book, this one, not an AA book, but it's printed by Hazelden. And some of the language doesn't quite fit with seeing ourselves as ongoing concerns with all aspects of life to learn. The problem is sometimes literature tends to make us feel like we're back in control or back in power over something or other. And the absolute good way of looking at life is not to look for power and control, unless it's organisational for some reason. And even then it's about collaboration and teamwork, because we don't live in a vacuum. Or if we do, we create imbalances. So April 8th, it says here, second, alcoholics recover their faith in a power greater than themselves, that they admit they are helpless by themselves and they can call on a higher power for help. They surrender their lives to God as they understand Him. And that's a unique, authentic understanding of each person, because we can't get inside the heads of other people and see their understanding of God. We can get a general understanding of how God can work in our lives on a personal level. But that doesn't mean God is telling us what to do. It's about sorting it all out on a daily basis. They put their drink problem in God's hands and leave it there. They recover their faith in a higher power that can help them. Have I recovered my faith? And I'll tell you what I have. I've recovered my faith in asking for help. It doesn't mean it's always going to be forthcoming, and it can be that we're given advice which is no good. And that doesn't mean it's coming from God and God is useless. What it means is we haven't asked the right person for the advice. We haven't done enough investigation. And as Herbert Spencer said, ignorance is not bliss. And contempt prior to investigation, that is, I don't agree with what anybody else tells me, I'm still going to do it my way. I've been experiencing that from different quarters this week, where self-will run riot, and the prayers always say to them that God says it should be this way, and the answer is God is not saying that at all. It's self-will diverting a channel and saying God is telling me to do this, or God is putting this in front of me because I need the challenge. And that's not so. We're not tested like that. Life is a bit more, I guess, it's not metaphysical in that way. It's absolutely straight in front of us. So when we think that God has given us a parking space, or God has delivered the right girl or boy or the right woman to be my partner, and I think that's what God wants, I ought to check out first of all that the woman might want me, and that I'm not barking up the wrong tree, and availability and all those things which are about natural instincts, but also using our emotional feelings to check things out. How am I really feeling today? Why? What can I do about it? And if we start to share our feelings with others, we get empathy. Empathy is a way of constructively changing our points of view. I love you at the same time your behaviour is wonderful, horrible. It doesn't knock the other person down. It could be I love you, why don't we get together? And the other person may say I don't love you, let's not get together. We understand where we are, but we don't have to keep on obsessing about getting it right, because out there in the world is as it may be, and we need to see how we can fit in. Not to control it, but to be a part of, to improve the overall situation. It's not all about personal gain. I think actually that's what troubled us most with finance and romance, thinking we knew it all, or we had to have it our way, or not at all. What a relief not to be tormented by that. It means that I can look for the truth in any situation by asking how other people see it. I learn how to love and be loved back without conditions, and I keep on getting the wisdom from other people. And if that's not God working in harness, I don't know what is, or us in harness with God. The bigger picture, the greater good. What a delight. So, whenever things are not quite right, as I said, this is one of the most useful pieces of card ever constructed for me. It's got the preamble which says, where am I? What's my purpose today? To make the best of what is, and to be a part of, and share. Then the 12 steps and 12 traditions. I haven't talked about the tradition yet in April, tradition 4, but that is the toolkit basically, and on the back is this serenity prayer. And you can get this card at most meetings, thankfully, if they have any money for literature. Economic times are very hard. But that serenity prayer on the back always puts things in perspective for me around what I can do and what I can't do. And that's always informed by wisdom from others, which is where God works, I suspect. It's the overall picture, it's the greater good. It's not about self-interest or personal interest, which is why the fellowship of AA works. It has one remit, a desire. We have one remit, a desire to be sober, and then the other one is to share experience, strength and hope. So the serenity prayer to God or good conscience, or whatever your heart that may be, is absolutely right for you. And it's the can do, can't do, and wisdom. So to God or good conscience, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me, always in the moment, and just for today. Don in London, hello. It's April the 8th, 2010. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour could be equally addictive. Work, relationships, anything to do with collecting, materialism. You know, the world is our oyster when we grow up. That's what we're told. And we can be anything we want to be. That's what we're told. But often we find ourselves feeling a bit fearful, and if we're feeling a bit fearful, then our feelings can get the better of us. And somewhere along the line I found out, not unusually, that there was a way of fixing my feelings very easily and very quickly, and that was alcohol. And from fixing my feelings or taking the edge off on a daily basis, it was the first drink that did the damage, by the way, even though I didn't start drinking regularly at that very tender age. And I learned how to fix myself and take that edge off, the edge of fear, or to relax by having worked so hard I didn't know how to relax. Take the edge off with a drink, find oblivion in the end. So from conviviality and joyfulness, or just being able to access the extremes of my feelings around happy or sad, love and hate. It never seemed to be balanced, peaceful. And that was because I didn't know how to deal with fear. And it's taken a long time to understand that fear in the right proportions, which keeps me alive and stops me wandering into traffic or climbing mountains without ropes like I used to, or going down potholes and doing stupid things like being drunk and doing all those things. Because I was a daredevil in my own head. I wasn't really. I was just fearful of being shown up. So I just went along for the ride and did what other people did. And that got me into bad company. That was me on my own bad company. So joyful, convivial, extrovert, then to isolated, excluded, fearful of even stepping out the front door, or opening it, or opening the curtains to let the light in. Not able to open the post, not able to answer the telephone. Those are the things that happen if we are unfortunate enough to keep on drinking beyond conviviality, where dependence comes in and then addiction comes in, where we can't think of anything else but stopping, and yet we cannot stop. So self-will was all right, then it became self-will to obsession, to get it right, and then self-will run riot and completely out of control. It happens, addiction happens to anyone who has that susceptibility, fears in life or misunderstandings that reality, just simple reality, is far better sober than it can ever be being fixed by any outside source or substance. And it's taken me a long time, and I'm smiling a little bit about it, but at the same time it was very serious. It nearly killed me more than once. Intensive care. I suppose, what can one say? How do we get out of it? Well, I couldn't do it on my own. Self-will ran riot, self-will became self-obsession, you name it. I couldn't do it on my own, but people kept on loving me long enough, and that's family, friends, society, to have some clarity that I couldn't do it on my own, and that self-will was no good, and that I was powerless over alcohol in the end. In the end, I couldn't beat it, and I had to give up the battle of trying my self-will. So these days, it's not about having self-will to stop doing something harmful or self-harming. It's actually living well, so I don't want to self-harm, and I need to stay sober. So needs met, sober today, wants forgotten. I don't want self-will back in that same way as it used to be. But I do have choices, and the choices I get are down to learning how to be sober. And the greatest gift given to me was to learn from other people who are sober. And the greatest majority of people I've met who are sober and learned how to come out of addiction into recovery are in fellowships. And it could be any fellowship. Mine happens to be Alcoholics Anonymous, but there are so many different fellowships for different people with different substances or different behaviours. As I said at the beginning, if it wasn't alcohol, it was people, places and things. Everything was out of balance. Anyway, for April, in the literature of my fellowship, and that's Alcoholics Anonymous, it's all about step 4, and looking at ourselves enough to find out who we were and who we want to be today. So what does AA do for me, Alcoholics Anonymous? Well, I don't speak for it. I can only say what it has done for me, which is to be included back in life, and has shown me a way to use a program of recovery, which works on a daily basis. It's only good for today. It's only good for reality. And reality is our spiritual connection to living. That's what I've come to understand. So for me, spiritual is not necessarily connected to religion. And the gift of AA is we leave our religion and our politics at the front door. And the way it's described in the preamble of the AA program, this little 2-paragraph on a card, can't show it too well here, it's a statement of intent about what AA is and how it works. And it goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. So that's the way in, a desire not to drink anymore. There are no dues or fees, it's free. For AA membership, we are self-supporting through our own contributions. So we do cough up if we have some money. AA is not allied with any sect. It's not allied to anything. Any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So we all come in with our own beliefs and understandings, no matter what they are, politics, religion, just generally how we are. But we're only there for one reason, and that's to share experience, strength and hope of recovery and sobriety. And people keep their personal beliefs because we're all unique and authentic on our own journey, and we have this one similarity. So it's not about believing in God or not believing in God, or whatever it is. It's about getting wisdom from those around us, and that is spiritual, if anything is. So I'm very happy to have a higher power in my life, and shorthand for me, God is truth, God is love, God works through people, and it's very easy to understand that. Truth, love, and works through people. So, more than that, I'm sure if I tried to define God, I'd be here for eternity, because I cannot define. I think to define God is to deny God. Yeah, I cannot define God. So, the daily reading for today, daily reflections, takes account of Step 4, which is the moral inventory, which helps us change our attitude and behaviour, how we were then and how we'd like to be today. And for April 8th it says this, an inside look. We want to find exactly how, when and where our natural desires have warped us. We wish to look squarely at the unhappiness this has caused others and ourselves. By discovering that what our emotional deformities are, we can move toward their correction, or sometimes it's just we didn't learn our emotions. Today I'm no longer a slave to alcohol, yet in so many ways enslavement still threatens myself, my desires, even my dreams. Yet without my dreams I cannot exist. Without dreams there is nothing to keep me moving forward. I must look inside myself to free myself. I must call upon God's power, truth, love, and wisdom of others, to face the person I feared most, the true me, the person God created me to be. Unless I can, or until I do, I will always be running and never truly free. I ask God daily to show me such a freedom, so as I get to the truth, love, and wisdom of others, I find freedom to be me. And that serenity prayer helps me all day long when I am in a bit of a jam or I'm just happy, because it reminds me of what is possible and not possible. So to God, all good conscience, all your higher power, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is, for me, just for today. Don in London, hello, it's April the 8th, 2009. My video is all about recovery from either addiction to substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour. Alcoholic, now in recovery. Workaholic, now in recovery. Gymaholic, I don't go there anymore. Relationshipaholic, I have one relationship. Oh no, I have many relationships, but I have a significant relationship as well. And what makes this possible for me is finding the truth of me each day, and part of that truth finding is being a part of a fellowship. Now, I speak a lot about this fellowship, but I don't speak for it. I am not a leader. The fellowship I'm part of is Alcoholics Anonymous, and in the preamble, which is shared at every meeting I go to, of which there are 700 or thereabouts in London, open for me to go to as just an ordinary person, it goes like this. So this is the AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship. It's a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. That's it. One requirement, a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, and certainly doesn't support my videos. I don't want them supported by AA. This is my life and my recovery. Neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And I've been in the helping profession, helping people all my life, I guess. Yes, I was managerial in retail distribution and finance for quite a long time, but I always gravitated towards helping others manage and be more manageable in their careers and their outlook. And what's helped me over the last few years to find my way out of addiction to alcohol and any other behaviours which were getting on top of me and out of control is fellowship, simple fellowship of meeting people who are in the same boat as me, floating in that lifeboat, if you like, the fellowship lifeboat, on a notion of alcohol. And you know, there are some people who are not fans of my videos, and that's quite all right. There are those who hate AA because it couldn't fix them. There are those inside AA who comment on the fact that it is anonymous and no one should put themselves out there at the level of press, radio and films. And often people within AA are very respectful and say, "Sir, please stop, desist." And I have a problem. The emails and responses I get, 1% are probably hate mail about AA. 1% are those saying you are breaking your anonymity at the level of press, radio and films. And then 98% say, we need more of this. We don't want just you out there. We would like to hear other people talking about their recovery. And of course there are people on the radio, on the internet, and many others, and many groups on the internet, who try offer help to people in need. And it's simply this: people in need. People need information, communication, to know what is wrong with them or what is right with them, and that there is a way out of this horrible, horrible dilemma of needing to keep on with an addiction because it's got us. We cannot escape it. So when I talk about the 12 steps of AA, I'm talking about how they impact on my life and make my life better. So I wrote a response to the latest from one of the 1% who've in AA so far. I'll probably get more mail now saying that you should stop this, but anyway, this is what I wrote to them, just so you know. Thank you for writing to me. I do appreciate your concerns. Over the last few years I've written about recovery and also made recovery videos. Always I've tried to help people, and its progress never perfect. Tradition 11 is a big question for me. Truth, open, honest and willing is the spiritual foundation of living. And the anonymity in AA offers sanctuary to find our truth. Today's Daily Reflections is all about this, and more of course. I get 3 types of response to my videos. One are hate mails for anti-AA people, 1% from people who tell me off from within AA, and 98% wanting to know who else besides me is sharing recovery on the internet. People need more information and help. I do not know the answer, but it probably needs all AAs to consider how we carry the message truthfully, and not some fiction about rarely have we seen a person fail. This simple misunderstanding kills people as effectively as there being no AA. It is a harmful judgment on men and women who are very ill and need help. It is a statement from ego and not a statement from esteem. So, you know, I don't believe in bullying people or making people toe any line. And you know, in this reading, an inside look, April the 8th, from this book, which is all about the 12 steps of AA, which I think are fantastic. I think it's the best self-healing mechanism that anybody could have constructed, and I don't know any better one. So, you know, I'm a fan of what it's done for me, and why shouldn't I tell people about it? Anyway, an inside look. So I'm a little bit angry, a little bit sad. We want to find exactly how, when and where our natural desires have warped us. We wish to look squarely at the unhappiness this has caused to others and ourselves. By discovering what our emotional deformities are, we can move forward to their correction, and that's all about step 4, doing a moral inventory of ourselves, and finding out how to be better just one day at a time, or just make a little bit of progress one day at a time. It goes on to say, today I'm no longer a slave to alcohol, yet in so many ways enslavement still threatens myself, my desires, even my dreams. Yet without dreams I cannot exist. Without dreams there is nothing to keep me moving forward. I must look inside myself to free myself. I must call upon God's power, or good conscience, as you wish, is of your understanding, to face the person I fear the most. That is the true me, the person God created me to be, and that could be nature and providence. Unless I can, or until I do, I will always be running and never truly free. I ask God daily to show me such a freedom. And, you know, I get freedom from the truth. Freedom is the spiritual foundation, because if we access the truth in the moment, we are on our way, and it's then how do we deal with that? And we need fellowship and inclusion to make it all work, because we don't live in a vacuum, and you know, it's so difficult to get into recovery already. I don't know what to say, but I don't want to exclude anybody, nor do I want people running out the doors, because rarely have we seen a person fail. Well, that's me. I failed miserably for years trying to give up drinking. And now I've stopped, but I've only stopped for a day, and that's the beauty. It's a one-day program, and I'm never ever going to be perfect. And on page 72 of As Bill Sees It, the other reading which I would use today, dependence, unhealthy or healthy. Nothing can be more demoralizing than a clinging and abject dependence upon another human being. This often amounts to the demand for a degree of protection and love that no one could possibly satisfy. So our hoped-for protectors finally flee, and once more we are left alone, either to grow up or to disintegrate. And think about that in the context of rarely have we seen a person fail. If we say that to people, what are they going to do? Yeah, of course they're going to fail. They're going to go back and have another drink, aren't they? Or they may be fearful enough to keep on going, and then the miracle happens, as we say. We discover the best possible source of emotional stability to be God himself, or a higher power of our understanding. We find that dependence upon his perfect justice, forgiveness and love was healthy, and that it would work where nothing else would. If we really depended upon God, we couldn't very well play God up to our fellows, nor could we feel the urge to rely wholly on human protection and care. And really what it's saying is, no one man is an island, as John Donne would say. We need to be included, a part of, and anything which gets people included and a part of, and seeing that the program of AA can work for them, is good in my book. And you know, sometimes we all trample on each other's toes, but the traditions of AA actually suggest you mustn't tell anybody what to do. You can make suggestions, and the 12 steps of recovery are a lifetime practice. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I do wish there were more people out there who just share their simple truth about recovery. My time is up, and the Serenity Prayer helps me, and as you know probably, for me God represents the truth, love, and God works through people. That's what Gandhi said, and I can live with that. But you need your own understanding when you say, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, just in this one day. DonInLondon, good morning, and it's April the 8th, 2008, and this is all about AA. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And every day, one day at a time, getting along in AA. I speak for me, I don't speak for AA. That's absolutely important to remember. Not only for anybody out there who sees these videos, but also for me too. Because everybody in AA has an opinion how AA works. And the reason why everybody has an opinion about AA working is it works for individuals as well as for the whole of the fellowship. So the way it works for individuals is we have a go at the 12 steps of AA, which is a program of change to help us deal with daily life, not to make a life bigger or better than anybody else's. And as my spiritual understanding these days is that we experience life in the moment, and that is the spiritual connection to now, and is best made without any filters or denials. However, we are human, so we shall always have denials and filters. And part of yesterday's evening meeting of AA, which I attended, was at the Boltons, which is where I used to make tea, and I did that for nearly 3 years, on and off. And we were talking about step 6, all about defects of character, and that they can be removed from time to time. My view is that defects of character are those things we want to do less of, and in my case it's less of fear, less of putting on a brave face, and less about using my ego, so I can get on with what is known as step 7, dealing with my shortcomings, which is having more faith, courage and confidence to meet the day. And so 6 is about defects, 7 is about shortcomings. So too many defects coming into play each day, and not enough of the shortcomings, which is courage, faith and confidence. And I've been reading little bits of this book called Power of Now, or Practicing the Power of Now, because everything, sorry about the jumping about, that's me knocking my knees. All of this Power of Now business, or living in the day and living in the moment, is about making the best of what we have. And we can get into elaborate thinking about what it ought to be, rather than just being. And this is how it is for us humans. We put too much effort into our thinking, our striving and our aspirations sometimes to actually make the best of peaceful days, where if we're not doing something which is spectacular, then we think there's something wrong. And the answer is there's nothing wrong with having a pretty ordinary, peaceful spiritual connection to now, which is not over elaborate thinking. And as Eckhart Tolle says, and changing my specs, I've got news on my diabetes, which is not good, but we'll carry on here for a second. The beginning of freedom is the realization that you are not the possessing entity, the thinker. Knowing this, it enables you to observe the entity. The moment you start watching the thinker, a higher level of consciousness becomes activated. You then begin to realize that there is a vast realm of intelligence beyond thought. That thought is only a tiny aspect of that intelligence. You also realize that all the things that truly matter, beauty, love, creativity, joy, inner peace, arise from beyond the mind. You begin to awaken, and that's about accepting how life is for me, and just getting on with what you can see, the beauty, the joy. And Sunday night there were about 4 of us standing out on the pavement outside Flood Street, Remembrance Hall, watching the clouds go by, and how simple and beautiful it was. And there were some artists there, and I felt like painting them. So, and I like taking photos, so I sort of joined in with that rapture. And on a daily basis I have to be careful, and I had a diabetes assessment, or part of it, yesterday with the dietitian and diabetic clinic nurse at my GP surgery. Oh, what a mouthful. My blood sugars are still too high. I've got a condition of my palms have gone yellow, and it's something that happens to diabetics, but it didn't actually say what the cause is. So I'm going to have to go back for more tests. And what can I say about that? I'll just get on with it when it happens. Make the appointments and move along. Anyway, daily reflections. April. April is all about step 4, the fear less moral inventory. So all the daily reflections readings in this book are a akin or something to do with step 4 in some way. So for April 8th it says, an inside look. We want to find exactly how, when and where our natural desires have warped us. We wish to look squarely at the unhappiness that this has caused others and ourselves. By discovering what our emotional deformities are, we can move toward their correction. And deformities for me just means we're doing too much of it's a defect, or a liability when we do too much of the wrong thing. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 43. Today I am no longer a slave to alcohol, yet in so many ways enslavement still threatens myself, my desires, even my dreams. Yet without dreams I cannot exist. Without dreams there is nothing to keep me moving forward. I must look inside myself to free myself. I must call upon God's power to face the person I feared the most, that true me, the person God created and that God created me to be. Unless I can, or until I do, I will always be running and never truly free. I ask God daily to show me such freedom. And as I said last night, when we're talking about defects or deformities, we need to be careful, because aberrations outside the ordinary is what he's talking about, not actually how we are with our assets and our deficits. We have to be more than that. And our thinking can be elaborate as we go digging too deep and not understanding what we're looking at, and that is history. How we got to where we are. And the beauty of this is a recalibration on a daily basis, possibly using the serenity prayer, which is about acceptance of the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And coming on to As Bill Sees It, in this book, I don't read these beforehand, by the way, so I don't actually come to the party with a very fixed idea. I sort of do this on the hoof. Admitted to God. Page 126. Provided you hold back nothing in taking the fifth step, your sense of relief will mount from minute to minute. And this is about when you share your ups and downs of the inventory with another person. The dammed up emotions of years break out of their confinement and miraculously vanish as soon as they are exposed. As the dam subsides, a healing tranquility takes place, and when humility and serenity are so combined, something else of great moment is apt to occur. Many an AA, once agnostic or atheist, tells that it was during this stage of step 5 that he first actually felt the presence of God, and even those who already have faith often become conscious of God as they never were before. And that's, for me, as I always say, God is truth. So as we get a realization of the truth of us and how we have been driven or not driven by various events and how we spent our life drinking, so we had elaborate thinking to cover things up most of the time and put on a brave face. The realization that God is truth for me, that the true person inside is just a vulnerable person like anybody else, no bigger or smaller. That is the key. So, coming on to 24 hours a day. Second, alcoholics recover their faith in a power greater than themselves. They admit that they are helpless by themselves and can call on that higher power for help. They surrender their lives to God as they understand Him. They put their drink problem in God's hands and leave it there. They recover their faith in a higher power. They can help what that can help them. Have I recovered my faith? Well, as somebody said, the person doing the chair last night, who was very, very good and gave a great message of recovery, they said, how does it work for them? It's the power of the rooms, it's the power of the program, it's the power of understanding the truth, the elusive truth of life. And that is why it was so good. And everybody shared their stuff, and so did I, as I do here most mornings. Anyway, enough for now. May your God go with you, as Dave Allen would say.